Step closer, ladies and gentlemen, and listen well. Tonight's tale begins on a rainy evening when one telephone call awakens not just a house, but an entire mystery. It was close to midnight when the phone rang in my small office above Harper's drugstore. The rain outside beat a rhythm against the window, and the neon sign across the street sputtered like a dying star. I was half asleep on the couch, trenchcoat draped over me, when that shrill ring pulled me up. "Detective Cole speaking," I muttered, my voice rough from too much black coffee and too many cigarettes. On the line came a voice, low, nervous, and distinctly feminine. "Mr. Cole? You don't know me, but I need your help. Please, it's urgent. Meet me at the Carlton Hotel. Room 312. Don't bring anyone. Don't tell the police." Then, just like that, the line went dead. The Carlton Hotel was an old haunt of mine, grand marble lobby, brass chandeliers dulled by years of cigarette smoke, and bellhops who knew too many secrets. I grabbed my hat, checked the revolver in my drawer, and stepped into the stormy night. By the time I arrived, the clock in the lobby read 12:15. I took the elevator up, the gears clanking like tired lungs. The carpeted hallway smelled faintly of perfume and stale cigars. Room 312 stood ahead, the number gleaming in the dim light. I knocked once. No answer. Again, harder. Nothing. The third time, I tried the handle, it turned. Inside, the room was dim, a single lamp left on. The bedspread was rumpled, and the faint scent of lilacs lingered in the air. On the desk sat an empty champagne glass, a cigarette smoldering in the ashtray. But the woman? She was gone. Then I saw it, on the carpet near the window. A single pearl earring, glinting under the light. And on the wallpaper by the sill, a smear of something dark. Blood. Who was the woman on the line? And where had she gone in such a hurry? Stay tuned, friends, the night is just beginning. Every mystery starts with a single clue. In tonight's tale, a detective finds himself in a hotel room where perfume lingers, but danger waits just outside the door. I crouched low, examining the smear on the wallpaper. Fresh. My instincts told me whoever had been here hadn't left long ago. I pocketed the pearl earring and checked the hallway. Empty, save for a maid's cart parked near the stairwell. As I stepped out, a man appeared at the far end of the corridor. Tall, broad-shouldered, trenchcoat collar pulled high. His eyes met mine for a second before he turned and walked quickly toward the stairs. Too quickly. I followed, but by the time I hit the lobby, he was gone, swallowed by the city's rain-soaked streets. The night clerk looked up from his magazine as I approached. A thin fellow with horn-rimmed glasses, he didn't much care for midnight disturbances. "Who checked into room 312 tonight?" I asked. He flipped open the ledger. "Name says Evelyn Drake. Checked in alone around 9. Paid in cash. Evelyn Drake." The name meant nothing, but something in it rang false. Back upstairs, I questioned the maid. She said she hadn't seen Evelyn since she asked for a bottle of champagne around 10. The maid had delivered it, knocked, left it by the door. She hadn't heard a thing after that. I returned to the room. On the nightstand was a folded note, half hidden beneath a newspaper. The words were scrawled in hurried script. "Meet me at the library. Midnight. Don't fail me." But the ink was smeared, like someone had tried to snatch it away. I barely had time to slip it into my pocket when the sound came. A faint creak, like a footstep, right outside the door. Someone was watching me. But who, and how much did they know already? The Carlton Hotel was giving up its secrets one whisper at a time. When midnight strikes, some meet for romance, others for ruin. Our detective follows the trail of a vanished woman to the darkened halls of a library. The city library loomed large against the wet pavement, its stone columns glistening in the storm. Midnight had passed, but a faint glow spilled from the reading room windows. Strange. I pushed through the heavy doors. Inside, the air was thick with dust and silence, broken only by the ticking of the great clock overhead. In the far corner, a lamp burned dim. And seated at the table, her face half hidden by a wide-brimmed hat, was a woman. "Evelyn Drake?" I asked, stepping closer. She raised her head slowly. A striking face, pale, nervous, eyes darting like a cornered bird. She wasn't the woman I'd heard on the phone, but she knew something. "You're late," she whispered. "I didn't know if you'd come. They're watching me, everywhere. I can't trust anyone." "Who's watching you?" I pressed. Before she could answer, a sound echoed through the cavernous library, Footsteps on the marble floor. Heavy, deliberate. Evelyn froze, her hand clutching my sleeve. The lights flickered once, then went out, plunging us into darkness. A chair scraped across the floor. Then, a sharp cry from Evelyn, cut off almost instantly. When the lights flickered back, the table was empty. Evelyn was gone. And on the chair where she had been sitting lay another note. This one typed, not handwritten. "Leave this alone, Cole, or you'll vanish next." Twice the woman disappeared, and twice I was left in the dark. But what game was being played, and who was bold enough to threaten me directly? The deeper you dig, the darker it gets. Our detective has lost the lady twice, but every mystery leaves a paper trail, and sometimes, a name is all it takes. By morning the storm had cleared, leaving the streets slick and gleaming under a pale sun. I hadn't slept. Instead, I returned to the Carlton Hotel, hoping daylight might shed truth where night had hidden it. The clerk, bleary-eyed from the night shift, reluctantly allowed me another look at the register. Evelyn Drake's name was there, clear as day. But as I traced my finger down the page, another name caught my attention. Victor Harland, room 310, checked in at the same time as Evelyn. I knew that name. Harland was no stranger, an ambitious businessman with more enemies than friends. Rumor had it he dealt in shady contracts, backroom deals, and worse. If Evelyn was tangled up with him, that explained the danger. I headed up to room 310. The door was ajar. Inside, Harland's luggage was packed, but the man himself was nowhere to be found. In the trash, I found a torn envelope bearing Evelyn's name. No letter inside. Then I heard the voice behind me. "You're meddling, Cole." I spun around to find a man framed in the doorway. Same broad shoulders I'd seen in the hall the night before. His hand rested near his coat pocket, heavy with the outline of a gun. "Harland doesn't like detectives sniffing around," he said. I kept my voice steady. Maybe Harland should have thought of that before his lady vanished. The man smirked coldly. "She isn't his lady. She's his liability." And just like that, he turned and walked away, leaving more questions than answers. Liability or lover? What was Evelyn to Victor Harland? And why did danger follow her every step? Every city hides its secrets in plain sight. And when whispers travel faster than truth, the only place to catch them is where the coffee's strong and the smoke never clears. By afternoon I found myself at Lou's Cafe, the kind of joint where deals were struck in hushed tones and the jukebox never drowned out the gossip. I nursed a cup of black coffee while waiting for a contact of mine, Sammy Doyle, a reporter with ink-stained fingers and a nose for scandal. Sammy arrived late, trench coat askew, cigarette dangling. "Heard you're chasing ghosts, Cole." The name Evelyn Drake's been floating through the rumor mill. "What have you got?" I asked. Sammy leaned in. Drake was a secretary for Harland. "Word is, she found something she wasn't supposed to, ledgers, numbers, bribes. She threatened to go public. Then she disappeared. That tracked with the fear in her eyes last night. And Harland? Harland's got half the city in his pocket, but if Drake talks, he burns." Sammy took a drag of his cigarette. "Careful, Cole. Men like Harland don't play fair." As we spoke, I noticed a man at the counter watching us in the mirror. Hat pulled low, sipping his coffee too slowly. When he rose to leave, he slipped a folded note onto my table without a word. It read, "Dockside Warehouse. Midnight. Come alone if you want the truth." Sammy frowned. "You gonna bite?" I pocketed the note. "Looks like the truth wants me. But truth is slippery, friends, and the dockside at midnight is no place for answers, only shadows. The midnight hour returns, and with it, another rendezvous. But when the tide's high and the fog rolls in, who can tell a meeting from a setup?" The docks were shrouded in fog, the kind that muffled footsteps and turned every shadow into a lurking figure. I kept my hand close to the revolver as I approached the warehouse. A faint light flickered inside. I slipped through the side door. The place smelled of salt and oil. Crates were stacked high, leaving narrow corridors. From somewhere deeper in, I heard a rustle, then a voice. "Mr. Cole?" It was Evelyn's voice, trembling but clear. I moved cautiously toward it, rounding the corner. There she was, pale as ever, eyes wide with fear. "You have to help me," she whispered. "They know I talked to you. They'll kill me." "Who's they, Evelyn?" I pressed. But before she could answer, a gunshot rang out. The crate beside me exploded in splinters. Evelyn screamed. I grabbed her arm, pulling her down behind cover. More shots followed, echoing through the warehouse. When the firing stopped, I peeked out. The shooters were gone. Ghosts in the fog. And Evelyn? She had slipped from my grasp, vanished into the night once more. But in her place, she'd left behind a small leather notebook. Harland's initials embossed on the cover. At last, a solid clue. But whose hand had guided me here? The woman's or the enemy's? Numbers don't lie, but the men who write them do. And when a detective opens the wrong book, he may just be writing his own obituary. Back in my office, I pored over the notebook by lamplight. The entries were meticulous: payments, dates, initials. Politicians, judges, even police captains. All on Harland's payroll. One name appeared more than once: Captain Wells. A policeman, supposed to be clean. If Harland had him in his pocket, this city was rotting deeper than I'd feared. As I copied a few notes, a knock came at the door. I reached for the revolver. "Easy, Cole," came Sammy's voice. He stepped in, eyeing the notebook. "So you've got the dirt." "Too much of it," I said. "If Evelyn tried to blow this open, no wonder she's running scared." Sammy hesitated, then lowered his voice. "Cole, you can't trust Wells. Word is, he's hunting Evelyn, not to protect her, but to silence her." Before I could reply, a brick crashed through my window. Glass rained over the desk. The brick was wrapped in paper. "Hand over the book. Last warning." I looked at Sammy. His face was pale. "They're closing in, Cole. And when the walls close in, the only way out is forward." But forward to where? Trust is the rarest currency. Spend it poorly, and you'll be bankrupt in blood. Tonight, our detective learns the cost of choosing the wrong ally. I decided to arrange a meeting with Captain Wells himself. If he was dirty, I needed to know just how far the rot went. We met at the train station, under the iron clock that never kept time. Wells was tall, broad, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You've been busy, Cole," he said smoothly. "Hand me the notebook. I'll make sure Evelyn's safe." I studied him. "Funny, Captain. She doesn't seem safer since you've been chasing her." His jaw tightened. "You don't know what you're mixed up in. Give me the book, and walk away." Before I could answer, footsteps echoed behind me. "Sammy." He stepped forward, eyes flicking between us. "Don't listen to him, Cole. Wells is in Harland's pocket. Keep the book." But then, I saw it. A glint of metal in Sammy's hand. Not a pen. A pistol. He raised it at me. "Sorry, pal. Harland pays better than the papers." So there it was, the double cross. But which would pull the trigger first? The cop or the reporter? Every mystery boils down to one final hour, one final move. For our detective, the pieces are on the board, and the king is cornered. The standoff broke fast. Wells reached for his gun. Sammy cocked his. I dove sideways as a shot cracked through the station. Wells staggered, clutching his shoulder. Sammy cursed, turning his pistol toward me. I fired first. His gun clattered to the floor as he fell against the bench, groaning. I grabbed the notebook and ran. There was only one place left to go, the Carlton Hotel, where it had all begun. Up in room 312, I found her. Evelyn Drake, pale but alive, suitcase half packed. She gasped when she saw me. "You still have it?" she whispered. "The notebook. The proof. Enough to bury Harland." I held it up. Tears welled in her eyes. "Then we can finally be free." But before relief could settle, the door burst open. Harland himself filled the frame, gun in hand, eyes blazing. "You should have burned it, Evelyn," he snarled. "Now you and your detective friend both die." The hour had come. Would truth triumph, or end here, in a hotel room stained with lies? And now, dear listeners, we reach the end. The mystery resolves, the masks fall, and the midnight call is answered once and for all. Harland leveled his gun. Evelyn froze, tears streaking her cheeks. "Drop it, Cole," he barked. Instead, I tossed the notebook onto the bed. "You want it? Take it." He moved forward, eyes locked on the prize. That was his mistake. Evelyn sprang into motion, grabbing the revolver from my hand where I'd set it on the nightstand. Her hands shook, but her aim was steady. "Stay back, Victor," she said, voice trembling but firm. "This ends tonight." He sneered. "You don't have the nerve." But she did. One shot rang out. Harland fell, the gun slipping from his hand. Silence followed, heavy as stone. Evelyn dropped the revolver, sobbing. I called the precinct, but not Wells. Another detective came, one still clean. Harland was taken away, wounded but alive. Sammy and Wells would both face justice, their names inked in shame. As for Evelyn, she disappeared once more. This time, by choice. The papers said she fled west, starting anew, leaving behind pearls, perfume, and shadows. I returned to my office above Harper's drugstore. The phone sat silent, waiting for its next midnight call. Because in this city, there's always another secret, another mystery, another voice trembling on the line. And so concludes our tale, friends. The midnight caller is silent now, but somewhere, another story waits for the ringing of the telephone.